Hey everybody, this is Ryan McClanahan with HistoryThroughCards.com. I hope you're all doing very well today. Not long ago, I had done a video on Jack Nicklaus and his pursuit of a defamation lawsuit, and I found it very interesting, but it had just began, so I didn't know what had happened. I tell you the truth, I kind of forgot about it, but I got a result of that lawsuit, and I wanted to share that with you guys here today. So I think you might find this very interesting. At least I do. So here we go. This is from ESPN. Jack Nicklaus awarded $50 million in defamation suit by Mark Schulbach, October 20th, 2025. A Florida jury on Monday awarded Jack Nicklaus $50 million in his defamation lawsuit against Nicklaus Companies, which is owned by billionaire banker Howard Milstein. Nicklaus, 85, filed the lawsuit in response to statements that Milstein and other Nicklaus Companies officials made in a previous lawsuit in a New York court. In the defamation suit, Nicklaus claimed the defendants suggested that he had considered a $750 million deal to become the face of the Saudi Arabian financed Live Golf, or LIV Golf, League, and disseminated those false claims to media outlets. It's always hard in a defamation case to prove damages to reputation because, in particular for a guy like Jack, it's always such a good one, Nicklaus's attorney Eugene Stearns told ESPN on Monday. But I think what was important was the dispute that arose 3.5 years ago when the company told the world that Jack was selling out the PGA Tour for the Saudi Golf when it was not true. So we're happy that Jack's been vindicated. In court documents, the golfer's attorneys wrote that a Nicklaus Companies official asked him to meet with Golf Saudi representatives in 2021 about designing a golf course in Saudi Arabia. During that meeting, Nicklaus learned that Golf Saudi wanted him to accept a leadership role in LIV Golf, or Live Golf. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but that's okay. And anyway, according to Nicklaus, he had no interest in the offer and declined because he felt that the PGA Tour was an important part of his legacy, and if the PGA was not in favor of a new league, he did not want to be involved, the court documents said. Nicklaus claimed the defendants also alleged he wasn't mentally fit to manage his business affairs and was suffering from dementia. What they said was, "You need to have the keys taken away," Stearns said, but the combination of all of what was unfortunate was, "We're happy with this is all soon going to be behind Jack, and hopefully the Nicklaus Companies will do fine as well. But it was an unfortunate incident, and hopefully now it's over." According to the Palm Beach Post, the jury ruled that Nicklaus Companies actively participated in the false publishing of facts that damaged the 18-time major champion's reputation and exposed him to ridicule, hatred, mistrust, distrust, or contempt. The Post also reported the jury ruled in favor of Milstein and Nicklaus's company's executive Andrew O'Brien not being held personally liable. Nicklaus Companies said it paid the legendary golfer $145 million in May 2007 for exclusive rights to his golf course design services and marketing, promotional, and branding rights. Nicklaus resigned from the company in 2017, triggering a 5-year non-compete clause in the deal that prevented him from designing golf courses on his own. Nicklaus stepped down from the company's board in May 2022. Not long after, Nicklaus companies sued Nicklaus and his company GBI investors, alleging tortious interference, breach of contract, and breach of judiciary duty against Nicklaus. The complaint alleged that Nicklaus had diverted opportunities away from Nicklaus companies for his personal benefit. At the time of the lawsuit, Nicklaus said in a statement, "The claims made by Howard Milstein are untrue. Our relationship has been a difficult one. At best, I have little doubt about the outcome, but I don't intend to make this a public spectacle if it can be avoided." A Florida arbitrator ruled in July 2024 Nicklaus was no longer restricted by the non-compete clause and was free to design golf courses. In April, New York Civil Division Supreme Court Justice Joel M. Cohen ruled that Nicklaus had the right to use his own name, image, and likeness, while Nicklaus companies owned the trademarks it purchased and could continue to sell apparel and equipment with Nicklaus's name, Golden Bear, moniker, and logos. I thought this was really interesting for a few reasons. First, when I had covered this case, I thought that Jack Nicklaus had signed away his name and likeness so he couldn't actually profit off his own name or his likeness, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous. Things like that do actually happen, though. And I always tell people that whenever you have a legal document before you, in business especially, or with your company or government agency or whatever, whoever you're working for, make sure you read the fine print. And if you don't understand what you are signing or reading, have someone else read that document for you, and just make sure that you know exactly what you're getting into before you sign on the dotted line. And it can happen to anybody, and especially with older people. And Jack Nicklaus is 85, so a lot of older people can be taken advantage of very, very easily, because I hate to say it, but as we age, our mental faculties start to diminish, and no matter how smart we think we are, it really doesn't matter when you're talking about advanced age and genetics, and so I think anybody who's listening to this right now, you may have older parents or whatever who are in that situation that they could very easily be taken advantage of, but that could be anybody as well. It doesn't have to be someone who's elderly either. It could be me or you. So that you guys really should kind of read what you're signing away to, and a lot of times people just don't understand that either, especially when it comes to arbitration too. There are certain things about arbitration that a lot of people don't really understand, and it looks like this was actually was through arbitration, and in a lot of cases too, you're often dealing with a different kind of court too, and so it's not just a federal court or state court. It could be a different kind of court setup, but that's I guess a different story, and it doesn't. I'm not sure if that actually applies here too. There used to be, side note, there used to be a commerce court way back in the day, during the 1909 T-206, and I think they got rid of that though within like 6 years or so. But what I was actually kind of thinking about too is Times versus Sullivan, where it is true in this article here that it is difficult to prove, I guess, malice, which Jack Nicklaus's lawyer actually did prove malice, and that's what you need for a defamation of character suit. and it's just not libel and slander. And those two, libel and slander, those are also really kind of difficult to prove in a court case. Um, it, it it is done, but not that frequently. I think, especially when you're dealing with a celebrity or a ball player. um, eh, you on your own, if you're not a celebrity or a baseball player or a golfer or whoever, whatever the case may be, um, that's kind of like an uphill challenge to try to prove malice in those three instances. But you need to have everything documented, and I always say too uh, that you should document everything that, especially in your work, document everything, have everything documented, and keep everything as a backup file. And it may help you. You never know. So in Times versus Sullivan in 1964, what that landmark case actually did was establish the actual malice standard that is used or applied. But again, like I said, like that's really difficult to ascertain. Um, Prior to this, it was I think probably easier to have this stuff go through a court, and a lot of times media members would go to jail because they reported false information, and they slandered and libeled and defamed the character of people without any proof. And so, obviously you need proof for this. And I think I've seen a few cases like that where YouTubers have done the same thing. But I'm not going to say any names here. Uh, I think you just kind of have to be careful here, and the platforms themselves, like YouTube, um, I think they try. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but at the same time, it's just kind of like use your own judgment on whether you're saying something that could actually defame the character of another person. And I try not to. I know I've gotten on Jeff Wilson's case a couple of times. I don't like to do that, um, but I know that a lot of people really don't like that dude, and he seems kind of a little too slick. I mean, maybe in his mind, but you run into guys like that all the time, and I think Jeff Wilson is a good representative of hurting his own brand uh, just by saying stupid shit. And I'm not gonna say, "Hey Jeff, like you're old enough to know better." Again, like Jeff, you're old enough to know better. But again, like I don't like to keep on hounding Jeff Wilson. I mean, everybody in their parakeet does that, and so I'm just like, hey, listen, I got other more important things to do than worry about guys like Jeff and whether or not that he's a fraud. Um, I think that maybe at some point in time that we're gonna have a look at Times versus Sullivan, and then the 1996 Communications Decency Act, and it's Section 230 that I think that they need to look into and maybe modify those things, because right now I see the media is just so out of control with their reporting or non-reporting, not even the facts. And actually, kind of like as a side note here, I was reading this morning that the New York Post had written an article online about the 1914 Baltimore News, Babe Ruth, and they left out one really key detail about this card. And what they said was essentially that the headline read that this card had sold for an astounding $4 million, but what they left out was the fact that it went from $7.2 million to $4.2 million. It was a $3 million decrease in value, and that was nowhere in the article at all. And this has, I think, more to do with me not really liking what I'm seeing in media, and I'm very careful about reporting actual factual information and writing about it, and then listing my sources as well. Well, you don't have a lot of media outlets that are actually listing their sources. SABR, they're required to list their sources in their articles, and it's I think it would behoove anybody to actually do that if they wanted to be a serious journalist. And it's one thing to have your own thoughts on something, but it's another thing to make up something completely different than what it actually is. And a lot of it seems to be politically motivated, which I think sucks because I hate politics. But I guess I've seen a degradation of the media for now, 35 years, if not more. I mean, if you go back further enough, back in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, you really get to have a good glimpse of how articles were published back then compared to how they're published today. And in a lot of cases, there's not just key details and information that is lacking, which I think is a huge problem, because if you have another source, another outlet that is reporting actual, like, everything, and then you have another source that is really kind of like taking out pieces of information because it's for whatever reason, maybe because it's embarrassing, or maybe because they feel it's not important. But let the reader decide if that information is important to the overall context of the situation, and that's really not kind of happening here. But anyway, I'm really glad that Jack Nicklaus won his case. If you guys have had any incidences of your own about what I've just read here, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention too, the Shriners show in Boston is next week, and I probably will be doing a review on that. Also, I wanted to get your opinion on something. 1957 tops and 1956 tops. I have kind of thought about going in a different direction in my card collecting pursuits, and one or two of those happens to deal with the 56 and 57 tops set. So I just bought 2 cards from those sets that now completes my Hall of Fame run for those 2 sets, and they both happen to be the 57 tops Mickey Mantle right here. And shout out to Matt from Providence. Thanks, Matt. I really appreciate it, and I know that he will be at the Shriners show coming up next week, and I hope you guys can go there. And it is one of the best shows on the East Coast. But then again, I am biased because that is my home show. And the other card that I bought was the 56 tops medal. Now my question is, do I try to complete the 56 or the 1957? I'm kind of partial to the 57, only because it's kind of a historic set. Actually, I think they're both kind of historic, the 57 and the 56. But I want to get a thought of what you guys have to say about this, if I should try to complete one or the other. And kind of, quite frankly, it doesn't really matter to me. I think they're both challenging, but I know that the high numbers of the 57 here might be a little bit more difficult than the 56, but I want to hear what you guys have to say on that. That concludes both years for Hall of Fame. I have every Hall of Famer in those two sets now. Those were the two ones that I needed. Actually, I take that back. I need the Jackie Robinson and the 56, and I had that card, and I sold it when I was young and stupid. Now I'm old and stupid, and yeah. So I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about anything here that I've talked about, and I will hear from you guys hopefully shortly. And until next time, have a good one. Bye.